Thank you everybody for joining us. Today, presentation and webinar, we're going to talk about joint venture opportunities with Sourced. So we're going to look at what is joint venture, why is this structure introduced and why is it utilized. We're going to look at some examples of joint ventures that we're doing, we've got coming forward, the benefits of joint venturing with Sourced, and then future projects and a little bit more information about ultimately who we are and how we help people to get to that stage. So yeah, lots of content, which is good. Some good examples that we can share, and yeah, hopefully we can delve into a bit more information. So still see there's lots of people joining, so thank you very much. It's appreciated. I'm going to start and jump into this now, and we'll get going. So first of all, introduction to myself. So I'm going to move this panel because it's right in my way. There we go. So my name is Stephen Moss. I'm the Managing Director of Sourced, the Source Group. Very fortunate, to be honest, in terms of got a fantastic role, working with a fantastic team and a great network across the UK. So doing something ultimately that I love, absolutely love property. Been doing it for a long time. So I had the opportunity to utilize a lot of different strategies and structures. And I think ultimately that's the one thing that kind of got me into property and got me dealing with properties, was the fact that you could apply your imagination to property in terms of looking at really clever ways to structure deals and opportunities and portfolios. I've been in the property sector for just over 20 years, which seems like a hell of a long time when you say it. That's why you kind of say it quite quickly to get out of the way. But yes, I started off in the estate agency world, grew my own estate agency to 6 offices, sold the business. I started a company called Legal for Landlords, which was grew to the largest tenant eviction company in the UK. And now here we are with Sourced, and I'm going to give you a little bit of information very shortly on Sourced as well. We've got in here that created and launched Sunday Times top 10 phone app. So that was with my previous business, and one of the reasons we put it in here is we've just recently, last week, at the end of last week, we launched our first phone app. So really excited. The results are fantastic. It's continuing to grow and grow and grow. So if you've not got it already, go to Apple or the Google Play Store, and yeah, look for the Source Property phone app. Lots of really good deals sent out every day and opportunities. Where I am now in my career, I think ultimately, I'd be classed as a developer. I've got several sites across the UK, all at different stages. There's lots in the pipeline for planning predominantly. But yeah, real nice variety of, things such as 4-bedroom detached house developments, right down to small HMO conversions. So really good mix and variety. One of the things I was going to say is, if anybody's got any questions or queries throughout this, please feel free to throw them on the Q&A or the chat. I'm happy when I see them pop up. If I need to jump into a bit more detail, I'm happy to do so to help out and expand on that particular slide. Bit of an introduction to our management team. So we've got Chris Kirkwood, our franchise director. So Chris predominantly does a lot of these presentations, and you've probably seen him. I think he did one actually yesterday. He was very, very excited because it's the first time he managed to hook it up, so he was live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, every different possible website in the world. So yeah, he was quite excited about that. Derek Pratt, our commercial director, so very experienced gentleman working in the credit team and overseeing the capital funding team. We've got Lee Wallace, who is our finance director, so been a big part in implementing our strategy and structure in the business. And then we've got the team, so management team, Sam Clayton, franchise manager, along with Lindsay, who's also our franchise manager. We've got operations manager and marketing manager, so Emma and Monica. So if anybody's seen any of our videos or lives, etc., you will have seen this team. We've also got Paul, our platform manager, and Brian, our construction manager as well. So a bit of an introduction to the senior teams. It's not the whole team, but kind of gives you an insight in terms of the experience and the team around us. So our kind of main points that we focus on are all listed below. And I think one that's quite clear when we do talks and we do presentations is passion, to get that passion across to people in terms of the property sector and what we do. Anybody that's new to Sourced, so a little bit of an introduction to the business so that you understand why we're sat here and able to talk about this particular subject. We're a collection of 5 companies, all in the property sector and all relating to ultimately help and link with each other. So we've got a Source Property, which is the arm of the business that we help investors find properties, identify good investments, and then ultimately package them and introduce them to them. So that's the one that the phone app's just been released under. So all new deals and opportunities are launched through that particular app now. We've got Source Capital, so that's our peer-to-peer funding platform. So if you're looking to get funding with a particular project and you're part of our Source group, then this is the place that we raise money and lend it to our franchisees. We've got Source Developments. So I mentioned before about we do our own developments, and we've got some beautiful flagship developments right across the UK, ranging from Bournemouth all the way up to Carlisle. And we've also got franchisees that have done some lovely projects, and there's some beautiful ones being done currently in Scotland as well. We've got Source Care, so working in the care industry, introducing investment properties or properties that we've developed into the care sector, which generally produces better returns, longer contracts, but also helping the communities as well. And then we've got Source Network, so our franchise arm of the business, over 150 franchisees across the UK. Really good group, a mix of people, lots of different types of experience in there. And ultimately, these guys are out there looking for opportunities to either sell and introduce to investors, or ultimately to develop and do themselves. And like most people, the goal is ultimately to become either a developer or build the pension and the portfolio so that you can take early retirement, live a better way of life, utilizing property and the returns that property generates for you. Our success so far as a business, so January 2017, we began putting our pilot scheme together on what we were going to do. In September 17, we launched our franchise model. By August 18, we became FCA regulated, so really big step forward there. October 2018, we'd hit 40 franchisees, so really good growth as a business. It was a real credit in terms of people seeing what we were looking to achieve and how we were working together. February 2019, we launched our largest property development in the UK, so £150 million development. That development's coming close to an end now, certainly on the beginning phases, but really good. I think it's kind of a credit to the team that put that in place. March 19, we became approved for ISAs and pensions funds, so that allowed us to get access to much bigger funds for our franchisees. In capital, January 2020, we were raising £1 million per month. April 2020, we had 8 live projects operational, which was great growth and lots of new deals coming through from HQ. And then obviously on top of that, we've got our franchisee network as well. So the franchisee network hit 150 franchisees March 2021. And October 2021, the launch of our property app. So a little bit of an overview, I suppose, ultimately of where we are and what's going on with it in terms of the growth of the business, which has been absolutely fantastic. Today's presentation, we're talking about joint ventures, opportunities, and with Sourced as well. So how we can potentially help you and the sort of type of joint ventures that we've done in the past. The first thing is to explain ultimately what is a joint venture. So a joint venture is an agreement between people who choose to work together. Typically, joint venture is based on sharing skills, finance, experience, network, and time. A result of the joint venture is typically a share of profit or equity on exit. It can also be as well, I had a meeting this morning with 2 of our franchisees, really switched on chaps, and they're looking to do joint ventures, but they're actually not looking so much for profit or equity. They're looking for long-term return. So taking a piece of the ongoing income from the development and having that benefit them and really kind of being a cash flow position for them more than anything else. So yeah, the lots of different ways it kind of leads me on to how a joint venture is structured. Again, I started this whole presentation at the very beginning by saying, look, I got into property, and one of the key things that attracted me to property was the fact you can use your imagination. I don't think that's different with joint ventures. I think that's one of the key things with joint ventures. Quite often, as a business, we provide franchisees with a number of legal documents. So these documents can be anything from sales agreements or tenancy agreements, or lots and lots of different agreements that we have on the CRM. One that we're often asked for is, do you have a copy of a joint venture agreement? Now, although we have a very basic backbone structure of a joint venture agreement, that's the key element of the joint venture agreement, is that you can customize this to whatever level you're looking to achieve. And a joint venture can be something very, very simple to say, look, I'll put my experience in, you put the money in, and at the end of it, we'll split this 50-50. Or it can be a lot more detailed in terms of, if we hit this particular parameters, or we have these particular problems, your percentage reduces or my percentage reduces. It can all be tied into targets. It can be tied into results. And again, it can be done on the profit and equity on exit. Most joint ventures that are put in place are typically short term. So you normally go into a joint venture with somebody. Quite often it's somebody that you don't know fully. So it's more of a case of you're putting together a joint venture for a particular development, and you do that together. Quite a lot of occasions, people have done joint ventures and then they've turned into partnerships, and businesses have been built on the back of that as well. So really interesting subject for me. And the reason I've jumped in to take this particular one is we've done a lot of joint ventures over the years. In particular now, we've got a lot of joint ventures in our pipeline and what we're doing with our franchisee network. So happy to answer any queries or questions as we go through the process. So here's an example of a joint venture that we did the beginning of last year. So I'm going to introduce you to Chris Richardson from Sourced Bournemouth. Really nice guy. If anybody's seen any of the videos or talks that Chris does, well worth watching. Chris came across a office building that had planning permission to be converted into 14 apartments for holiday lets. This is based in central Bournemouth, so really, really good location in that respect. The purchase price was 875,000. There was a GDV of 2.2 million, a profit margin of over £600,000. So quite a considerable build, really. 14 apartments, or conversion, sorry, 14 apartments. Where it was located, quite a tight build in terms of small, narrow roads. It was kind of off the main high street, so getting access with building materials, etc., was a little bit more tricky. But generally speaking, really, really good location. I think the location kind of outsold it for anything else. So why put this forward as a joint venture? So Chris found this opportunity, and Chris had multiple things that he could have ultimately done. He could have packaged this and sold it. He could have attempted to do this on his own, or he actually brought it to ourselves as a joint venture opportunity. One of the reasons he brought it to us, it was actually his first project. So imagine having that on your CV and on your record. So first property project, conversion of 14 apartments in the town centre. So it's not a bad one to have. And the beauty of this project as well, I mean, this is actually complete, this one. It's all rented out, tenanted, etc. One of the things that we did do is a 360-degree virtual tour walk around before and after. It's fantastic because you just get to see and feel actually what this looks like, what it should look like, and the quality and the difference as well. The difference in terms of the build and everything else with it. One of the key things that Chris decided to joint venture, all the reasons that Chris decided to joint venture with us was, he understood that he could get regular visits in the site, get access really to behind the scenes, be part of making the decisions, gain an awful lot of experience so that he can go on to do these types of conversions himself. He was also time short. So in terms of, he had a job that he was operating his franchise alongside. He still dedicated time, the right time to his franchise, but ultimately yeah, commitments, and he knew this would be quite a large commitment to take on board. Limited access to funding due to experience. So this is quite a big point. This is quite a big discussion point between us as a network, generally speaking, as well, because if you're brand new to property, you've never done any kind of property before, and you go to get funding to complete a project like this, the likelihood is the lenders will either say no, or they will ask you for huge deposits. With ourselves, we do have resources to offer up to 100% funding. It's got to be realistic in terms of, there's got to be a reality of, can this person deliver this project given their experience? Chris was very open to say, look, this is my first project. Take this on myself would be kind of crazy. And that's why, hence, he came to see us for the joint venture. So what did we contribute to it? We arranged all the build tenders and relevant reports. Spelling over there, apologies. We paid the upfront costs. So a lot of people don't appreciate just how much money goes into doing developments before you actually start the developments, and also how much money is risked. We've had properties or developments fall over where we've lost monies on them, and it almost becomes quite often you hear people talk about a numbers game property, and that's the same for the reports, because probably 1 in 5 deals is going to be fine and come off, but maybe 4 you might spend some money on. It might be survey, it might be, as an example on something like this conversion, we do the drainage report, structural report, we do asbestos report. In total, there's probably around 5 reports that we would do to make sure before we purchase the property that it's absolutely fine and we can go ahead and take it. Now, if on the final report we find an issue or problem that's not resolvable, or it's going to cost an awful lot of money to, then potentially we've lost a lot of the money that we've paid up front. But that's part of what we do, and we take that as a calculated risk ultimately. Deposit monies. So as a business, Source put the deposit monies in to fund this project, as well as we touched on the upfront costs. I know on this particular one, the stamp duty is about £50,000, so it's quite a considerable amount of money. And then Source Capital, the internal peer-to-peer lending platform, funded the opportunity to help us purchase the rest and finish the conversion as well, or do the conversion. So keeping it all in-house and making it a lot smoother and easier to take on board. So it's a live opportunity that we've kind of been through the whole process. Another one here that we're currently in the middle of build. So introducing you to Ian Pask from Source West London. So really nice guy, very experienced. Ian found a plot of land. It's a kind of farmer's paddock with planning permission for 10 properties. A lot of our franchisees have locations or areas that they operate from. You can trade outside those territories. This is kind of an extreme one in terms of being based in West London, and he found this property in Carlisle. So it's quite a big distance there to manage a project like this. The purchase price is £410,000. It's got a GDV of 4.6 million and a profit margin of about 1.4 million. So again, we did a live update on site about 2 weeks ago on this one. It's actually, this is where I get a bit geeky, but it's actually our first timber frame development, timber frame build. So it's quite exciting to see just how quickly these properties go up, and the speed in which they're built and set up is absolutely phenomenal. So, but yeah, another joint venture put in place. The reasons that Ian's put this forward to us and why bring this as a JV. Ian's a very experienced property developer, but actually his experience has been overseas. So having moved back to the UK, not having that track record of dealing with UK planners, he felt would be more comfortable working with somebody who's got that experience. He's looking also to scale his business quite quickly. So he's got a number of projects on the go, and by working with joint venture partners, it means that you can take more on. Just got a quick question here. So what are your personal thoughts on timber frame versus traditional build? Thank you for the question, Palmer. I suppose I'm going well off track here from joint ventures, but yeah, to answer the question, I think if it makes sense, that the reality of it is the cost isn't hugely different. That's what we're finding. However, it's the speed element and the fact that we've got the roof on within a week, 2 weeks for a 4-bed detached house is a huge, huge advantage. It means we can finish the site quicker, which overall saves us money. But yeah, really, we're enjoying it. It's nice to see the process. It's like a huge Lego set. It's quite exciting to watch it take place. So yeah, it's good. I mentioned there, sorry, jumping back into this, and Ian's reasoning to put this forward as a JV, leveraging some source upfront costs and also having the remote management. So having that distance between him meant that we could put a team in there and support a bit more. What do we contribute ourselves? So again, we arrange for the build tenders and relevant reports. Spelling out, apologies. Paying upfront costs. So we're happy to inject that cash to get the project underway, set up quickly. Again, adding the monies, deposit monies, and implementing experience. So although this is it's a beautiful site, there are challenges with it. There are challenges with drainage. There are challenges, the fact that there's no gas supply. So looking at ways that we can utilize air source heat pumps, etc., and a different structure, if you like. But yeah, it's a different way of approaching it. Some of the questions that have just popped in: do you have to be a franchise to be a JV partner? You do, Scott. Yes. So we only partner with our franchisees. However, if you partner with a franchisee, that's more than welcome to. So I would suggest, if you've got an opportunity in a particular area, reach out to the franchisee and have a chat with them about it. How do you source JV regarding funding and their fees? I don't really understand that question. Sorry, David. I don't know if you can expand on that a little bit more. Sorry. So another question: did you guys manage everything for this build? So yeah, predominantly we've brought on a site manager. Our internal project manager has overseen the project as well. So yes, we've been very hands-on with it from a head office point of view to make sure that it delivers, and we can put everything that we need to in place. Cool. So yeah, one of the key elements for a lot of people, just to kind of touch on this a little bit with Ian. So in terms of Ian, really was looking to get into larger property projects quicker by JV with HQ, and that's one way that he's actually been able to do it. It's bringing them to us. And there's a couple of questions popped up there, and I'm happy to jump on and answer them just to make sure, in case anybody else is thinking the same thing. How do you become a franchisee? So I'm going to touch on that, Ryan, towards the end, so bear with me. Do you have any active JV opportunities where an investor can invest? We typically don't, because predominantly we'll fund them through our peer-to-peer platform. So if you're looking to invest funds, what I would suggest is speak to our source capital team, because that's what they do. They raise money from investors and they put it into these JV and development opportunities. You get first charge, and you get first charge, and you get the return as well. So definitely we'll have a look at that. David, your questions pop back up. So you share the profits after any fees. Yeah, ultimately the joint ventures are done in different structures and different ways. So we have some where it's a simple 50-50 split on profit. We have some that are more complicated. It depends. A lot of it for me depends on risk element. What are you risking compared to what we're risking? So if you're going to bring us an opportunity, but you're not going to have any experience, you're not going to put any money in, and you're not going to be hands-on with it, then ultimately we're taking all that risk on. If you're coming on board and we've got a site at the moment that we're doing, which is 22 units, it's a joint venture. It's with one of our franchisees who's a builder. So he's going to do the build side. So we're putting the money in. So that's a straight, 50-50 split ultimately. So there are lots of different scenarios, and that's something that we'd sit down with you at the very beginning and discuss. How do you find a list of directory franchisees in areas? So if you go to our sourced property website, you'll see a tab there for, I think it's about, or it's at the top. It's got a list then of offices, and you can search for local franchisees there. What do you need in terms of requirements before acceptance? So it's a good question, Liz. So there isn't anything in terms of, we need this, this, this. So as an example, I mentioned at the very beginning, one of the franchisees who is on the call, Jason, who, I'll see if we can get Jason to jump on this now so that you guys can speak to Jason as well. This wasn't planned now, so if this goes really wrong, it's all Jason's fault. I'm going to say, Jason, can you hear us? Can you speak?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, sorry for dragging you in. I didn't really, I've not even asked, so apologies. But one of the questions just come then, really, in terms of Liz asked a good question. What kind of needs to be done, or what needs to be ready? And I thought, it's a really good point to jump into your scenario in terms of, so for everyone's benefit, Jason is a franchisee with us. Property guy, experienced. He's brought a joint venture along to us, which is, I don't know if you want to kind of give people a bit of an overview, Jason, of what the opportunity is.
Yeah, sure. So it's a commercial property in the town centre of Hull. It's actually a really well-known property locally. It's a Grade 2 listed building, and we're converting it to 14 apartments and 2 commercial units on the ground floor.
Yeah, excellent. So 14 apartments, 2 ground floor commercial units, really, really good location. The reason I brought this up at the point Liz asked, so Jason brought this to us when there was no planning. It was just a commercial unit for sale. And, we've agreed terms to say, okay, yeah, let's work together. Let's do this as a joint venture. Here's the terms that we work on. And on the basis that we'll work with you to A, get the property through planning, but also B, exchange on the property to secure it. So we're at the stage now. I mean, how long have we actually been working on this, Jason?
It seems like forever, but I'm sure it's not.
It's what, 3, 6 months, 4 months, maybe?
Yeah, 3. I would say probably 3 or 4 months. Yeah, it does seem to take a long time, but property is not a quick game, is it?
It's not, no, absolutely. So, that's a really good point. At the moment, generally speaking, the councils and the planning offices are short-staffed. Some are still operating from working from home. So these things that you need to consider when you're getting into ventures like this, because it's not a case of, on this particular one and on lots that we're doing, but this one that we're talking about now, I think we were given a decision date probably about six weeks ago. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, the council? Yeah, absolutely. And we're just at the stage now where they've told us they're going to approve it. We know what the conditions are, and we're okay with all those. And we've just had to agree a Section 106 because they want a few more quid out of us to cut the grass in the area, pretty much.
That's it, absolutely. So yeah, this is an opportunity that we're not saying, look, just bring opportunities to us that are completely ready, and we'll do, we're happy to kind of get stuck in at a very early stage. The earlier the better, ultimately, because it's great because we can help kind of bring in any experience or any additional reports or funds that are needed. And on this particular one of the key things that we do push for is getting an exchange so that we've got the security. So we exchanged on this probably 2 months ago, I would say. Jason, is that right?
Yeah, a while back now. So we've obviously secured this. We're exchanged subject to satisfactory planning. So that's all good. So we'll be heading for completion soon.
Fantastic. Is there anything you'd add in terms of your experience from joint venture? And one thing I'd say as well, I don't know if it's worth it or if you want to, it's up to yourself, but I don't know if there's a way people can contact you if they've got questions about joint venturing or anything like that. You're probably a great person to speak to, having just kind of going through it and being in the property sector for some time. Yeah,
sure. I mean, the reason I JV'd was because this is a much bigger project than I've ever done before. So what it gives me is both the learning and the support to do a bigger project and scale up my property business. So, that's the main reason I joined Source, was to be able to scale my business in as quick a manner as possible. And JVing is allowing me to do that and do projects which I quite honestly wouldn't have been able to fund myself previously. So, it's opened a big door for me. I'm happy to speak to anybody who wants to have a chat about the franchise or anything property related, and they can get in touch with me through my email or social media. My email is jason.k, that's K-A-Y, @sourced.co. Thanks.
Fantastic. Excellent. So, yeah, I'm going to jump back onto the question. I'm going to mute you now, if that's okay, Jason. Apologies.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, really appreciate you jumping in there, because I think it gives people a real good understanding of, ultimately the experience they can go through in the process as well, and the areas that we work in. So thanks for that. Appreciate it, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, no problem.
Just going to set this up, guys. Okay, cool, excellent. So yeah, back into it. So I've seen a couple more questions pop in terms of if somebody's been bankrupt but now discharged, would this stop them becoming a franchisee? Again, this is something really to speak to the team about, because ultimately, if you're joint venturing and we're the people that are doing the main bulk of the project, then that's feasible. There are ways that we can structure things. So definitely speak to the team, either Sam or Lindsay that I introduced at the very beginning. Do you JV and fund in Scotland? Yeah, absolutely. All of the UK. So yeah, very active anywhere in the UK. Jumping back into the presentation, guys, and as I say, I'm happy to answer any questions. I appreciate other people might be thinking of the points, but I do want to obviously make sure I answer them and provide this information. So benefits of joint venture with head office, obviously levels of experience. So we've got in-house site managers, in-house project managers, finance team, experienced investors, builders, etc. So sharing the risk. So not many people talk about risk when they look at joint ventures, yet actually they can be really risky. If you look at not so much joint ventures, but partnerships, which are a form of a joint venture, there's a staggering number out there, a statistic which shows just how many partnerships fall apart. So it's important to make sure that you analyze what are the risks and document them in the joint venture agreement. There are different structures that you can do to put a joint venture agreement. So some people have a simple joint venture agreement and it's tried and tested. That's typically what we operate on. Other people will do it more of a legal route in terms of shareholders agreements or shares in the business, in the SPV, in the holding company. So make sure you look at what the risk is, not just from your side, but from the other person's side as well, because you want to make sure you're covering every angle that you possibly can. The other side as well is access to funding. So I touched on earlier that, look, just actually getting on site is very expensive. You might have your build costs, you might have the purchase price, but you may need reports, you may need additional groundworks, you may need, we've had digs that we've had to do to see the type of soil, what type of, lots and lots of different reasons where those costs quickly grow and grow, and we're happy to fund those in advance and take that risk once we've reviewed the opportunity. So yeah, touching and confirming really some of the points. So upfront costs, this is how our source typically helps. So helping with upfront costs, planning conditions. So we've got a planner, we work through the conditions to get a discharge if there's outline planning in place. So we're currently doing a site in just outside Lancaster, which is housing. That's got outline planning, so we're currently working on discharging those, structuring the deal efficiently. So we appreciate that being efficient, not just in the way that you get return, but also being tax efficient, making sure that it's as tax efficient as it can be while still giving you the security of being a joint venture partner is very, very important. Pre-contracts. So we're able to supply you with contracts. If you want to get a solicitor to look over them, then absolutely fine. That's your decision. But ultimately, we've got those in-house and we'll tail them when we're putting together a joint venture agreement. Project management. So I mentioned before, we employ our own project managers in-house. Compliance. We have a compliance team, again, to make sure the health and safety on site and the key elements that are important on the development are completed. Having our own in-house funding, huge benefit, huge help for anybody looking to build and develop, and also working with sales. So we've got a fantastic network. You've just heard Jason speaking then. We've got a fantastic network across the UK. Some of our guys are brokers, agents, lots of different areas in the property world, and ultimately, they can help us either with sales or refinances or different areas of the business. So it shows really the strength of having that network around you and helping support you through it. One of the questions earlier was about becoming a franchise. So I'm not going to go into a huge presentation on it, but ultimately a little bit of a snapshot in terms of what becoming a franchise means, what the costs are, and what the benefits are as well. So currently over 150 franchisees across the UK. We have our own exclusive network events. Lots going on within the network. The groups are always busy. We're currently just setting up regional meetings as well, which is really exciting, something we're looking forward to growing. We only fund our franchisees projects, so I think it's a really important point. We're not actively funding anybody. It's a case of we're here to support our franchisees. The most important thing for us is growing their business. So when I talk to people about our franchise business, I generally refer to it as more of a sort of resource center, because for me, you'll go through different times and journeys of, you might start off brand new in the property sector, which 20% of our franchisees are. And at that point, you might just be sourcing and trading deals. You'll then start doing a couple of refurbs. You'll then move on to small conversions. And it's this kind of journey that you go through. And during that journey, you'll need different resources. And that's really the benefit of being part of Sourced, is that you might need funding at one point. You might need access to investors. You might need support. You might need some additional training. And it's having all those resources in place. One of the quotes from Chris, which is quite nice. So he didn't have any property experience before joining Sourced. Really appealed to him to get the support from people who've got it in place, obviously. So we have, I mentioned before, our phone app. So before our phone app, we had our website and our email list. So we've got over 100,000 registered investors. We're increasing that typically by about 300 investors per week. So quite high growth, which continues to grow and keep the investor database fresh. This can help you in two ways. You may be considering sourcing properties, selling them to investors, which is great because you've then got this huge access to investors. Alternatively, you may not. You may be thinking, well, I'm just going to develop my own properties. But again, this is a great way for if you're developing properties and you want to get rid of a handful, or you're looking to sell them all. And there's a big database of investors that you've got access to push them forward. Franchisees are also given access to our training schedule. So there's 73 training events across the UK, plus support days and implementation days as well. So lots and lots going on. As I speak now, I can see in the training room there's an event taking place today. So and lots of different subjects as well, rent to rent, service accommodation, right the way through new build developments. And we have specialists that come in and do talks on particular days. So as an example, planning, we have a planning specialist that comes in and does the talk on that day. So really active. We touched on this very moments ago. So Jason very kindly jumped on the call. I didn't realise we had a picture of him, so he's now a wanted man. So anybody that's looking to speak to Jason, he mentioned that his email address before, jason.k@sourced.co, which is CO at the end. And there's an image of this building. It is absolutely beautiful. It's got a lot of history with it, and the conversion upstairs is going to be lovely. So 14 good sized units. There's a courtyard, there's a rooftop. So yeah, it's going to be something very, very nice right in the city centre. That's an up and upcoming project. So we're just, as Jason kind of touched on, we're just waiting for planning to be signed off so we can start pushing things forward. In terms of support, so we provide local support days, monthly training events, unlimited deal reviews. So email, phone, and video support. Unlimited deal reviews is quite an interesting one because you may find an opportunity that you're interested in. You can submit it by clicking a button on the CRM system, and then head office and support people will review that for you, feedback. The idea of that is ultimately, A, it's second head just kind of checking the numbers, and B, are there any other structures or ways of utilising the property to get more out of it? And it's looking at that. So you have a dedicated account manager, support person, optional one-to-one visits, And there are additional add-ons as well. So we have, as a franchise network and the size of our business, we've negotiated discounts on some leading developer software as well, which again is all focused on growing your business and helping support you. I'll touch on a couple of those very, very shortly. Running costs. So to become a franchisee, receive an exclusive territory, jump on board the induction training, focus, operating a proven model, and having exposure on all our websites and apps, etc. It's £12,500 plus that. It's a one-off payment to join the Source franchise. So we get lots of really good comments about this in terms of value for money. And I think it does, given that the amount that we do and the amount of support we have. It's not just a one-off hit, it's a continuous ongoing to help people. We have a license fee, so we generate property leads, which I'm going to touch on very shortly. Investor leads, access to online training 24/7, access to the app, bi-monthly support days, access to the peer-to-peer lending platform, training events, SIN management, and legal documents. And the license fee is just £200 per month, and then 5% of net profit capped at £100,000 per annum. So that's our typical operational cost. So not a huge amount to be operating a business like this for £200 per month. We launched recently in the last couple of months a new system called Escudo, which is quality leads, bespoke algorithms, and exclusive deals. So we've spent the last 4 years looking at lots and lots of different ways of lead generation, and we've tried everything. We've tried leaflet dropping, we've tried direct mail, we've tried cold calling, we've tried postcode hitting, we've tried all kinds of different things. When we've looked and looked and looked, we've started to fine tune, and that's given us the opportunity to introduce Escudo. And Escudo basically has algorithms that searches online, looking at opportunities and how they can be converted, taking into account their size, the cost per square foot, the resale per square foot, the build costs, and then it spits out leads that we pass on to our franchisees straight into that CRM system. So Escudo for me is fantastic, and I started testing it obviously before it went live. In my location, it's spat out in the first couple of weeks. It was about 4 property deals, of which they all worked. I missed out on one. I offered on 2 others, and I bought one. So for me, it was a really, really good tool and very, very powerful as well. We work on the basis that we make money if you make money as a franchise business. I think that's one of our key strengths. So the 5% fee of income is based on, obviously, we've got to get you making income and push forward as quickly as possible. Additional add-ons, so I touched on this before. So we've negotiated a deal with Loop, who are really, really good service and system for direct to vendor leads, pre-qualified, excuse me. So you have a 30% discount to franchisees. We also have Land Insight, so really good planning, I suppose, data platform as well. We actually get a 50% off their license cost. So it's quite a large saving on that in particular, but really good tool. A lot of our franchisees utilize it, get a lot of benefits from it. How do our franchisees maximize their ROI? So regular activity with training sessions, weekly group sessions and networking, weekly one-to-one with support, webinars hosted by HQ, Capital, weekly Zoom meetings and sessions, decision, analyze, and feedback from experts. So there's an awful lot in this package to help you and support you and get you through your business. I'd like to thank everybody for their time in joining me on this presentation. I hopefully provided lots of information about joint ventures, the types of joint ventures we're doing, and the opportunities that are out there. There's some really, really exciting opportunities in the pipeline that we're working on, and we'd love to work with more people. If anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to jump on and answer them now. I can see the last one was about do a joint venture. Yeah, sorry, Scott, I think we've just answered that one. So what are the costs involved to become a JV partner? I mean, ultimately, we only joint venture with our franchisees, so we ask you to join the franchise, and then that's an opportunity that we can JV with you. So yeah, thank you everyone for your time. We are going to send this email out recorded as well, so if anyone's got any queries, they can jump on that, or feel free to reach out to us. You can see our contact details are on screen, so if anybody wants to speak to Sam or Lindsay, franchise@source.co. And have a fantastic day. Thank you.